Hello, YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Magic Metal Mondays. Today, we are going to be ranking my top 10 favorite bands to come from the United States of America. So, basically, what this is going to be, it's going to be in celebration of the 4th of July, which is an American holiday, for those of you who don't know, but come on. Everyone knows this holiday. Today we celebrate American independence. And what better way for me to do that than to rank my 10 favorite bands from this country. So, without further ado, let's get freaking into it. Number 10, I gotta go with Green Day. Green Day has been one of my favorite bands these past couple of years. I love their hard and raw and heavy style of punk music. They just do it so well. Like, their guitar work, their instrumentation is just so simple. But at the end of the day, they make it work. They have so many classic hits, so many radio hits, so many great albums. Most notably, Dookie, Kerplunk, American Idiot, Nimrod is very underrated, Insomniac, Warning is very underrated, and 21st Century Breakdown. Now the later stuff I'm not really that into, but they're not terrible albums. Revolution Radio is definitely my favorite record from that era. And even the debut album has some great songs too. But at the end of the day, those albums in the middle will always win the band over for me. Absolutely love Green Day. They have fallen out of the top 10 of my favorite bands of all time, rather, but they're still a freaking kick butt band, and I love Green Day. Alright, moving on to number 9, we got Soundgarden, one of two bands on this list to come from the Seattle grunge era. Oh boy, are these guys awesome. Like, Chris Cornell, easily one of the best singers of all time. Easily. Not just from this era, but of all freaking time. His voice, his technique, his range is just absolutely mind-blowing. And then Kim Thale on the lead guitars. He is just, he is so good. I mean, and kind of like Green Day, like their first album, not really big into, but Louder Than Love is a great record. You also have Bad Motorfinger and Super Unknown, and heck, even Down on the Upside is quite underrated in my opinion. Now, sadly, we would lose Chris Cornell in the late 2000s, early 2010s. He sadly committed suicide, so rest in peace, Chris. One of the best singers of all time. He is just so good. Love him. He's a phenomenal singer. What more do you want me to say? Yeah, so Soundgarden easily makes it in here. Even though I kind of had to battle myself to put these bands the way they are. So with that said, Soundgarden coming in here at number 9. Number 8, gonna go with Alice in Chains, my favorite band from the Seattle grunge days. Dark, heavy, and just freaking awesome are the only ways that I can describe Alice in Chains. Everything they did with Lane Staley is just top-notch classic material. Like Facelift, one of the best debut albums ever. Dirt, one of the greatest albums ever made, period. End of discussion. The self-titled album's quite great. Both their EPs freaking kick butt. Most notably Jar of Flies, although Sap is pretty good. And even some of the later material with William Duvall also kicks a lot of butt. Most notably like Rainier Fog and The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here, and of course Black Gives Way to Blue. Some awesome material. Of course, like many Alice in Chains, I do prefer the Lane Staley stuff. Rest in peace, Lane. Another great singer that tragically passed away. He was just an amazing singer. He was just awesome. Jerry Cantrell, one of the best guitarists ever in metal. I love his style. I love his soloing. He's just freaking awesome. Love him. And it's basically what makes Alice in Chains, along with Lane Staley's vocals and their harmonies and all that fun stuff. But overall, Alice in Chains, an amazing band. Moving on to number 7. Now we're getting into some underrated bands here. Some bands that you absolutely must have to check out before you die. I'm just kidding. But seriously, check out these bands immediately. Number 7 is Dark Angel. Dark Angel, the most underrated thrash metal band of all frickin' time. Absolutely no discussion. I mean, their style is absolutely killer. I love pretty much every single aspect about this band. Whether the kick-butt guitar solos from Jim Durkin and Eric Meyer, to the amazing vocals from either Don Dottie from the first 2 records, which were We Have Arrived, and of course my favorite album from them, Darkness Descends, one of the greatest metal albums ever made, or Ron Reinhardt with albums like Leaf Scars and Time Does Not Heal. Great material there. Mike Gonzalez, a great bass player, and their drumming, most notably from Gene Hoglan. Yeah, great stuff. Love this band a lot. Dark Angel frickin' kicks butt. And if you haven't listened to them yet, like if you're a fan of Slayer, for instance, you're going to love Dark Angel. Dark Angel is basically Slayer on steroids. They're just that fast. They're technical. They're more thrashier. They're a band that absolutely needs to have more attention. Go listen to Darkness Descends right now if you want to, of course. Alright, moving on to number 6. Number 6 is, in my opinion, the most underrated metal band to have ever existed, to ever record in the studio, and that is Florida's very own Savatage. How could I not have Savatage on this list? I have constantly sung this band's praises, if you will. Everything that they've done, everything is just absolutely flawless. The demos are great. All their albums are great. The EP, Dungeons Are Calling, is by far my favorite EP of all time. It's just that freaking awesome. Fight for the Rock, yeah, it's weak, but it's not terrible. Dead When We're Dead is also not terrible. Hall of the frickin' Mountain King is one of the best metal albums ever made. Let's see, Gutter Ballet is great. Edge of Thorns, Handful of Rain, Power of the Night, Sirens even, and even some of the later stuff like Wake of Magellan and Poets and Madmen, and of course all the members that they've had, whether it be at the Oliva brothers with John Oliva, who's one of my favorite singers, and Chris Oliva, who is absolutely one of my favorite guitarists. Like, holy crap. And then Johnny Lee Middleton or Keith Collins on the bass. I do prefer Johnny Lee. He was with the band longer, and he's just better suited for the bass, given the fact that Keith was originally a guitar player, but he did very well on the bass on those first two Savatage records, plus the EP. Just great stuff all around. A very well-rounded band, a very flawless discography. Go listen to Hall of the Mountain King right now, because let me tell you, you will have a phenomenal time with this band. Absolutely love Savatage. Alright, now we're moving into the top 5, which is basically predictable, because these are all in my top 5 favorite bands of all time. So let's do it. So number 5 is Anthrax. Love Anthrax. Like with Savatage, I have constantly sang this band's praises because Anthrax is just that great of a band. I love Anthrax. Like, all the stuff they did with Joey Belladonna, including Worship Music and For All Kings, all of that is just phenomenal. John Bush era has some great stuff too. Sound of White Noise is a great album. We've Come for You All is pretty good. And then you have Fistful of Metal, which is the only album they had with Neil Turbin on vocals. It's good, but like with some of the other debuts from the Big Four, it's just kind of meh for me. But overall, not a bad album at all. However, Stomp 442 and Volume 8, The Threat Is Real, are just kind of like they're kind of below average. But overall, for the most part, Anthrax just delivers with kick butt material music. Love these guys. Number 4 is Slayer. I love me some Slayer. Slayer is, in my opinion, the heaviest band, or at least one of the heaviest bands on this list, because Dark Angel is probably the heaviest band on this list, but Slayer is a very sharp second. Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman, two of the best, probably one of the best guitar duos in all of metal. Just the way they create solos, the way they make their guitar shriek in horror, is just so spine-chilling. Dave Lombardo, Dave the godfather of the double bass pedal Lombardo. Probably my favorite metal drummer of all time. Just the way how he just plays those drums, how thundering they are, is just so good. And then, of course, Tom Araya on the bass and vocals. So great. Love Slayer. And one of my favorite bands. Love Slayer. Let's move on. Moving on to number 3, we got Megadeth. So Megadeth, back in the studio again. They're making a new album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. They already have their single released, which is called We'll Be Back. Great song. Absolutely love it. The band sounds very tight. They sound very good. They're basically picking up right where they left off with Dystopia, in my opinion at least. I mean, Steve DiGiorgio on the bass, Dave Mustaine on the guitars and vocals, and of course Kiko Loureiro. I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but anyways, from Angra on the lead guitars. He's just, oh my god, probably Megadeth's second best guitarist behind Marty Friedman. Like, Kiko, his solos are just so, oh my word, just absolutely amazing. And yeah, I mean, rest in peace. Amazing record. And let's see, you also have Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia, Peace Sells But Who's Buying, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good, So Far So Good So What, Dystopia, United Abominations, Endgame. Great material here. Now, yes, Megadeth does have a few forgettable records, and weaker albums like The World Needs a Hero, Super Collider, Risk, and The System Has Failed. Even Cryptic Writings is, but overall, those big name albums are basically enough to have Megadeth as a force in metal, and they are absolutely one of the best of all time. Love Megadeth. Alright, moving on to my number 2, which is my favorite metal band from the U.S., and that is Metallica. Metallica got me into metal. Their first 4 records are just absolutely flawless. Well, 3 of them are. Kill 'Em All is the only one that I'm not really that crazy about, in my opinion. I know that's going to be controversial, but yeah, I mean, I do like some songs off that, like most notably "Hit the Lights" and "Seek and Destroy." Great songs from that record, and of course, "Ride the Lightning," "Master of Puppets," and "Justice for All," and even the Black Album. All that is great. I even like some moments from Load and Reload. Saint Anger can we just not talk about Saint Anger? Then we have Death Magnetic and Hardwired Self-Destruct, which are both great records. Not as good as their early material, but still really good albums nonetheless. So with that said, Metallica coming in here at number 2. Absolutely love this band. And I would not be a metalhead without them. So, thank you, Metallica. Alright, now before we reach our number 1 pick, we're going to go through a couple of honorable mentions. So we got Dream Theater, Pantera, Motley Crue, Poison, Cinderella, Dokken, Testament, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. All these bands. And even Nirvana, and even Pearl Jam. And lots of other great bands that came out from this country. Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Death, even. This was just such a hard list to to build. But overall, it's just absolutely perfect. I I love all those bands. They were just they just had to fall outside of my top 10. But goodness gracious, any given day this list can change and some bands might come out, some bands might come in. Who knows? But number 1 will likely never change. And if you've been following me since day 1, you automatically know who my favorite band from the US is, and that is REM. REM is a very special band to me. They have been in my life for goodness knows how long. All the albums that they've made from their debut album Murmur all the way up to 1994's Monster are just absolutely flawless, containing some of my favorite rock albums ever, like Fables of the Reconstruction, Life's Rich Pageant, Automatic for the People, and of course, my favorite record from REM and one of my favorites of all time, Out of Time. Absolutely love that record. And even some of the later stuff, like Up and Reveal, and and of course Accelerate, which is in my opinion their most underrated record, and Collapse Into Now. Great stuff there. Michael Stipe, easily one of my favorite singers ever. He's just awesome. Mike Mills, great bass player, great backup vocalist. And let's see. And then you also have Peter Buck, who's one of the most underappreciated guitarists of all time. Just the way he creates those jangly arpeggiated riffs is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. Just some great stuff. Well, what can I say? REM will forever remain my favorite band from the U.S., regardless of any genre. So, with that said, that concludes the list. I know I've left some great bands off. I know, but at the end of the day, they're all great. The U.S. just has way too many great bands for me to put into a top 10 list. But what else do you want me to say? I love all these bands, and if you want to make your own list, please do so in the comments section below. I would be very interested to hear that. Okay, so with that said, that concludes this edition of Magic Metal Mondays. Thank you so much for watching my fellow YouTube divers. This is WaterDive 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube, and have a happy 4th of July. Thanks for watching.